wisdom nuggets and all of that. So awesome. Well, it's Monday. Everyone ready for their week? Yeah.
I don't know. Is anybody ever ready for Monday?
Right? Well, I appreciate knowing that, Jeannie, because I'm sure are you retired?
Yes.
Okay, so that helps me feel a little bit better.
Let me correct that. I thought I was.
Right. Oh, well, if you're living large in retirement, it means you're doing something great, so that's great. Well, why don't we kick off our life book lunch break, and we'll do our, welcome, and more people are going to be joining us, and we're Facebook Live streaming into our page. Happy Monday, everyone. I looked at the calendar this morning and I was like, oh, October is a couple days away. How did that happen? And here we are. And, I've spent a lot of years of my life with always the same goals. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. We start out January, we're like, I'm going to do this year. And then we get to October or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm still in the same exact spot that I was when the year started. And sometimes we kid ourselves in the journey where it's like we're taking, one step forward and one step back, and we think, oh, I'm getting healthy, I'm doing it. But then we don't realize that we're actually not making progress, because if you had a goal in January and here we are in October, you better darn well be close to it, right? If you are making progress. And so what I want to just start out our life book lunch break, our client time doing, is let's just take a pause and do a little self-inventory on how are we doing in our health? How are we doing in our mindset? How are we doing in our habits? How's our sleep, our motion, our stress? How's our parenting? How's our marriage, right? Just really look at yourself like bird's eye view, kind of looking down, take a collective assessment on where you're at, what your desires are for the year. Yes, I know that this year's been a little wonky, but you get to choose how to end the year. There's so much that is in our control that we don't often realize that we can do. And one of my favorite things that my coach Megan taught me early on in my health journey, because there was a season, and honestly many seasons, where life has been really hard. She's like, I hear what you're saying, and I want you to get out a white piece of paper. I think you know what I'm going to do, Megan. And I want you to draw the dot. Draw the black dot in the middle. That you're looking at it like that. Pull it back and look at all of that white space. Guys, we have a lot of white space. We have blank pages of the book we're writing. Jeannie's going to share in a couple minutes about where she's at in her health journey. There are a lot of white spaces that we can focus on, things that we can do to move our health forward, to move ourselves forward. So take today on this Monday and look at the white space and just start filling it in. This is where you get to be creative, because for a long time I spent my life living in either I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm either in or I'm out. I'm perfect or I'm not. And that had me really stuck. But when I let go of that and I thought, you know what? The journey's the gift. Life is the gift. Goals are not for getting, they're for growing. And I want to embrace creativity. I want to take charge. I want to take ownership. So I'm going to fill in my white space. The other thing that has been really impacting me, just in my life recently and in my health, is that it's the saying that it's not so much about what you're doing, but it's how you feel about what you're doing that matters most. Whether it's waking up and you're like, oh, I got to eat these fuelings again, or I get 20 more pounds to lose, right? And even with this morning, I was doing school with my daughter, and she's throwing a little fit about doing her homework. And I said, hey, baby girl, it's not about what you're doing. It's about how you feel about what you're doing. And right now, you're feeling kind of defeated. Your attitude's kind of stinky. What if you were to feel really good about your work? What if you were to say, I got this? It's going to change your experience. It's going to change your outcome. And it's going to let school finish really quickly instead of dragging it out and being dreadful. And it worked with her. And so I just want to present that to you. It's not so much about doing the program. It's not so much about eating the fuelings, calling your coach, right? About this weight loss, right? That we're trying to get off. It's about how you feel about what you're doing. So wake up each day and connect with your passion, connect with your conviction, and know that I am doing great things for myself. Bring that energy, bring that excitement, and it'll completely changed the process. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to pass it off to Jeannie. She is a wonderful lady. And she's lost over 90 pounds. And so, Jeannie, would you just share with us what this journey has meant to you, what you've learned, and maybe some top tips for other people who are not quite where you're at?
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. I began this journey in early November of 2018 after hiring a gentleman to come to my house to do some repair work, and he couldn't come for 4 months. And when he came to the door, I didn't recognize him. Come to find out, he'd lost 63 pounds over the summer. And I started asking questions about these little snacks that he was eating and all the water he was drinking. I asked to read the labels on the packages after he ate them because I was very curious. Being a retired nurse, I research everything. And I asked him many questions. The poor man wasn't getting his work done, so he referred me to his wife at that time, who was a coach, and she came and spoke to me. And I told my husband, I need to do this. This is less than what I was spending for prescription medication through my doctor to help me lose weight, and it was unsuccessful. I have battled my weight since I was 20 years old with my first pregnancy, and I am now soon to be 73. And in the mirror, I looked fine to myself until I saw photographs of myself. I was heavy. And then my boys started to tell me, Mom, you're beginning to walk like grandma. And then I saw pictures where I was becoming stooped over. And I thought, I can't keep this up. I've had knee replacements, foot surgery, and I need to take care of my own health, or my family's going to be taking care of me the rest of my life. So I just decided I'm going to do this. I set a goal of 50 pounds to start with so I could travel to Ireland in April of 2019 with a friend of mine, because I didn't want to be left behind on any of the tours they took. I not only succeeded, but lost an extra 5 pounds and was able to climb the 130 steps to the top of the Blarney Castle and kiss the Blarney Stone. And I was in absolute tears afterwards because I never thought I could do that. And the men thought they'd hurt me. And I said, no, my sons are never going to believe this, because when I got home, I was thinner at the end of the spring from our winter home in Florida than my sons had ever seen me as children. They were just shocked, and they just kept encouraging me and to keep up the good work, Mom. And because of the encouragement, this has been such an easy program. You have your bars and you grab and go, because I live a busy, even though I'm retired, I live a busy lifestyle. The lean and green meals are easy. Everything is explained in your Habits of Health book and your life book that you study, and that is so helpful to support your changing in your thinking process, that you're eating to live, not living to eat. And so I feel much healthier. I have so much more energy. I have not had an asthma attack in the last 2 years because of my weight loss. It's just remarkable how my weight has improved. I slowed down a little bit this spring because we had a stressful winter with some house guests that ended up having to have emergency surgery. The 4.5-day visit stretched into 5 weeks. And then 2 days later, my husband ended up in the hospital with heart situation. So through all of that stress, I still maintained, never gained a pound. So now I am back on my goal to lose my last 20 pounds. And I will get there because there are so many in this community to support me. And Dr. A has all the tools there for me to use. And I can't say enough good about the program.
Jeannie,
Wow.
oh, so powerful. Thank you for sharing all that. It's going to relate. We didn't even get to connect beforehand, but it relates perfectly to everything we were going to kind of chat about today. I hope you all even picked up and get to pull from some of Jeannie's confidence, right? Of one, knowing how far you've already come, and then also that confidence that you're still going to reach that end goal that you set for yourself, because you're embracing all that the program has to offer, not only that structured eating plan, but leaning into your coach, leaning into the community, leaning into Dr. A's life book and habits of health. And if you guys have missed that, Dr. A, the reason we've kind of shifted over to do more of just client support for this call, instead of our actual going through the life book again, is because he's actually going through the life book with you all for the next 8 weeks. So if you missed that, be sure to pick back up. But today we wanted to chat a little bit about, Brandon and I had quite an experience this weekend. We summited one of our long-term goals of Mount Talek in South Lake Tahoe. Has anybody else been to Lake Tahoe and climbed that mountain? We consider ourselves hikers. Like, we grew up outside of Yosemite National Park. We've climbed Fuji. We've done some great hikes. That was a doozy of a climb. And I all along the way, honestly, one of the things that helped me was considering how much this would translate over into hopefully helping all of you with your journey too, and how much it has translated into what my health journey has looked like over the years, and what's helped me to reach some of those goals, but then to even find that next climb, find that next goal. So I wanted to give you...
It was 10 miles.
Yeah.
We were 10 and a half miles. So.
Yeah, it was so, and part of it, we did not do the things right this time. We got
because
a really
we're seasoned
late start.
Travelers, because we're seasoned hikers. We're like, well, but
we got a little cocky and ended up hiking back in the dark. So
just
some of these will give you also hopefully some good tips and tools for your health journey, but how it also correlates in. So lessons from the mountaintop. Number one is always map your course. As you're getting started on your health journey, I hear from so many people when they're first asking them, what do you want to accomplish? What would your best version look like? What does optimal health look like for you? And many people say, like, I want to feel better, or I want to look better, or I just want to, be healthier. But what is the end goal then? How do you know when you've reached that mountaintop if you don't have some of those tangible destinations? So you want to make sure that you have that landmark milestone of what is it going to look like? When will you know that you arrive? Because if it is too vague, then sometimes it's easy to just, for us, like, we got on the trail and we're like, woo, we're hiking. We're already there, right? It could have been easy to stop and miss that last, like, that peak, and that to take in all that you have accomplished and overcome. Number two, plan ahead. This was where we failed, to really plan ahead. Make sure you have all of your fuelings. Make sure you have enough gas in your tank, right, to reach that destination. So many of us, we put other people first, or we forget to take care of ourselves and make sure we have that proper fuel and that proper gas and enough water. We saw plenty of people that were fully, like, would have been capable of reaching that mountaintop, but they had to turn around because they didn't plan ahead and they didn't have enough water with them, or they didn't have enough fuel with them. And so you want to make sure that you've set yourself to be prepared to have everything you need to reach that destination. So even for me, some of the things I do is I make sure, even if you're going to get caught out longer, Jeannie mentioned this too. She's on the road, busy a lot of the time, right? So I even stash and store fuelings with me, like in my, console of my car. I take extras in my purse if I'm going to be caught out longer than maybe expected. Bring some extra water bottles with you. Maybe even leave a case in the back of your car, so you always have something on hand in case you do just get caught out there with not enough with you. Another one, number three, make your goals known. You don't go into the wilderness alone, right? If we had taken that hike and we hadn't let anybody know in advance, like, this is, desolation wilderness out there, that could have been really dangerous, right? And I think it's equally dangerous for you when you're starting out on a big trail or big course like this. You want to make sure that other people know where you're headed. So one, they can encourage you and they can keep you on track. They can keep you safe so you don't get twisted and turned around. You want to make sure your goals are known. And they know your destination. So one of the best ways that you can even do that as a client is to let people know, hey, you know what? I'm going to be working with a health coach. I've got some big goals and big dreams. This is where I'm headed. This is what I'm working on. So that way you pull other people in and they can help hold you accountable and keep you on track too, and help you keep safe working there. The other one is you wouldn't go out alone either though, right? Like, I can't imagine if we had gone out alone on our own.
It makes it way too easy to turn back when it gets hard. It makes it really easy to get lost along the way if you don't have some other parameters and things to guide that course. And we actually, even on that trail, we did get lost and turned off course like 2 times. And so I'm so thankful that we didn't plot that out alone. And I hear so many people starting their journey where they're like, I don't want to tell other people, like maybe I've made these hikes before and I've gotten lost and that's so, shameful or embarrassing. But that is risky behavior to not let those goals be known. You want to make sure that you're pulling other people in and you're going with them. So what another one I would say is you want to invite some equally yoked friends. And that term I love is because you think of oxen. That's where it really came from, is you want to have pulling equal weight. So you want to be inviting people in that are equally, like what Jeannie said, like equally determined to make it to that mountaintop, that when things get hard, they're not like, oh, you know what, let's just hit up happy hour instead. Let's go back. This is not worth these obstacles.
We went to happy hour after we got down too, but we didn't want to stop sooner than we expected.
We still made our healthy choices with our salad.
We did, yeah.
So you want to pull in some of those equally yoked friends that are, again, equally determined, equally excited to reach the top. And again, when things get tough, they're not going to be sabotaging you or pulling you back with them, that we're going to get to the top together. We're working on this together. Another big one that I hear so many times is you don't have to reach the top before you can help guide somebody else or before you can invite somebody else to join you on that climb. I hear this so many times, and I think of it even in that mountaintop analogy of so many people are like, oh, I'll help people when I reach my goal, right? But that's almost like thinking, they have that need or that desire right now, and you're like, no, let me climb the mountain first. I'll go at it alone. Let me make sure I can get there, and then I'll come back or I'll scream up at the top like, you can do it too. But most people, they just want somebody to do that journey with them. So you can immediately start inviting some other people, and that's what most people just want, is they want to be invited in to do this journey with you, especially if you're hearing from other people. Like Jeannie said, they have these similar goals. They're having these similar needs. So if you have that answer and you can journey this with them, why not invite them and do it right alongside them? You might even just be like that immediate step ahead of them. Mm-hmm. That's all people need. They just want to be a part of the journey. So you can invite people in right away, even again, of that same verbiage of, hey, I'm working on some health goals with my health coach. I don't know if this would be the right fit for you too. I know you were also complaining and not having any energy, or you were also saying that, your clothes aren't fitting because of COVID and quarantine. I know you were saying that you want to travel too, and you want to be, I don't know if this would be the right fit, but why don't we chat with my coach and see if it would be? It'd be so fun to do this journey with you. Mm-hmm. That's as simple as it can be, to invite some people into your own health journey, increase that accountability and increase that success. You both get the win simultaneously. How fun is that, right? When you get to that mountaintop and you get to celebrate together.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah, we made it with our dog too, so that was pretty sweet.
It was awesome, right? And that's where I want you to think about, who do you want to celebrate reaching that peak with them mm-hmm. at the same time together. The other fun thing is you can make friends along the way. And that's what I love about this community. That's what Jeannie's talking about, why she's so confident, is you find like-hearted, like-minded friends sharing the same interests, sharing the same hobbies and goals and aspirations. We met some great couples out there that we can instantly connected with, and they just, moved from San Francisco, and we were talking to them about all their travels and all their adventures and things. And it makes that journey, it was hard climb, guys. Like it was, I'm not being lied about. It was a hard climb, but once we made some of those connections and some of those friends, it made it so much easier and so much more enjoyable. Yeah. So don't go at it alone. Make some other friends. Those are your people, right? Those other people that are even putting themselves out there to make these climbs and to do these hard things and to tackle these obstacles. Those are your people. Start inviting them into your journey and celebrating together too. One of the things that I do usually on every climb, Brandon gets sometimes annoyed with me on this, but I always ask people that are coming back down, I'm like, did you make it to the top? Was it worth it?
What did it look like?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I get those peaks of what's it going to be like when I get there? Like, is it worth it to still put it, like, this is hard work. It's not always easy. And like, Jeannie, we have a very simple plan, but it doesn't make it easy. You still have to tackle different obstacles. She had some major obstacles that came her way, but she just determined, okay, the plan is simple. This climb is even simple. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. I'm just going to stay plugged in and connected. So when you ask other people, is it worth it? Those people that maybe already reached that mountaintop goal for themselves, they will almost always tell you it's worth it. It's not easy, but it is worth it. So
Yeah.
keep going
Yeah,
and
and
keep inviting.
I think that invigorates our vision too.
Yeah.
You know, there's expectations and stuff. And it's hard for me, like you say, I get irritated because people will tell me how much longer I have to go. And that's not very fun. I would rather them tell me like, oh, it's beautiful, it's amazing. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
So that's what you guys can take to tell people is you don't necessarily need to tell them how long it's going to take. You just tell them it's worth the climb. It's
Awesome.
worth it. Keep
I feel
going.
so good.
Absolutely. Because one of the things too is you cannot have these uphill goals with downhill habits. So you are also going to need to be embracing some of these uphill habits and choices to keep climbing and to keep progressing through. And you're going to need to find camaraderie with other people that are willing to embrace the same, of creating those uphill habits to reach those destinations. There were times on my journey I had to keep my head down and truly just focused on breathing it out. Breathe it out, because there were some really strenuous peaks and parts of this climb, and there are for your health journey, for your relationships, for your finances, for all these things. Again, take these like physical lessons that we had. How does it relate and correlate to your experiences of what you're going through right now? So there were plenty of times where I had to just breathe it out and keep focused on, okay, just a next step, next step, next step. And then I would glance up occasionally, not always to look at how far away am I from my goal, but to make sure, am I still on the right trail? Am I still headed in the right direction? So sometimes you also might need to do that. And that's one of the biggest things of where your coach can come in too, because you're usually, again, just sometimes that step ahead of you many times, just to keep following in their footsteps, keep following that trail to make sure you're still on that right path. The other big thing is find joy and find beauty in that whole journey. Celebrate the milestones, find some of those landmarks to just kind of pause and take notice, because the mountaintop isn't the only place that you should be celebrating and enjoying. Sometimes we always think like, I'll be happy when, like when I've reached this destination or when I'm here, but you need to start to find and embrace where's joy and where's that beauty all along the way. And for us, there's plenty of it. And so for you, like maybe even what has been your latest milestone or your latest landmark, to one, plot out your course so you don't get lost like we did and get steered off. Like that would have been really helpful if we had even taken better note of, okay, where these, I need to look at some of these certain landmarks along the way and celebrate them and take note of them. The other big thing that I want to leave is there are different paces for everyone. That was one of the fun things that we actually saw for people out there. Or there were some people that were in their probably 80s that were making that climb and reached that top. And that was so inspiring. We saw little kids out there, which definitely was humbling to see like, they made it. Okay, like, whew, I can do it. But the other thing to take note of is everybody had some of those different paces along the way. We shot up there in, a couple of, like 3 hours. There were others that took the entire day to map it out. And so everybody's going to have to go at their own pace. You don't always know everybody's backstory either. You don't know maybe some of the like footwork that they put ahead of time to put in the efforts to maybe get at that faster pace, or maybe some of those. Exactly.
All that comparison stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a big difference between comparison and inspiration. I learned this a long time ago, and I hope that this is something that you guys can take with you as well, is compare, like think of the energy that you have between the two. When you get into the comparison mode, and I see this a lot with like, oh my gosh, so-and-so lost, X amount of pounds this week and I only lost, 2, and you get into this like this comparison, and it usually is rooted more in like bitterness, like desperation, frustration,
your own expectations.
Missed expectations on maybe your part. And that does not drive further energy. That usually actually takes you further away. Versus if you were in the camp of inspiration of, wow, that's in celebration of like, that's really awesome. I can't believe that they accomplished that within, a week's time, or that they got to that mountain in this X amount of time. That's awesome. What else can I do to drive some of my actions to look at inspecting what I expect? Am I following that plan? Am I following this trail? Am I fueled well? Do I have all my water? Did I get rest the night before? All those other things. What are some of those other actions that you can do to propel yourself to move into, wow, I'm really inspired by what they created. I wonder if there is some other things that I could do to maybe speed up my pace if that's my greatest desire. But there's a big difference between, again, think of the energy between comparison and inspiration. Move into that inspiration camp. You can take pauses. You can take breaks along your journey.
Many as you want.
Many as you need. Like I said, sometimes it's breathing through it and taking some of those breaks, but don't stop too long, because it's hard to get back into momentum, to start taking some of those steps again. Jeannie even shared that, like, she had reached a big goal and maybe needed to take a little bit of a pause, but now she's ready to get back started because she didn't stop too long, right? So sometimes that's the same for you, of you can take breaks and pauses, but you want to get back up and you want to keep moving. I had to tell Brandon that so many times. He maybe needed to stop, and I'm like, I'll move slow.
Do you mind if I keep going?
But I need to keep going or my legs are going to lock up here. And so you can make sure too that you're, again, bringing that partnership in and that collaboration, but keep your momentum going. Once you reach that top,
you said 10 points. I see 11.
I know, I keep adding. Sorry. That's usually the way my brain works. I'll write these out to make them clear. When you're up at that top, celebrate it, right? Like, celebrate the heck out of it. Look at all that you've accomplished. Yeah. It was so fun for us even to see, like, oh my gosh, all of the switchbacks, all the obstacles that we had to navigate through. So inspiring to see, wow, all that we overcame to get up to that top, and to celebrate it and to breathe it in and to take note and admire the view. But we also always are up there like, okay, get vision casting. I'm getting a peek at the next peak. What is my next peak that I'm going to be climbing? What else am I going to be accomplishing? What else do I want to start also bringing in? Because that's the fun part, is it almost becomes just this like contagious thing of, once you start to learn what you're capable of in one way and how you can overcome some of these obstacles, you just want to start overcoming and tackling more and more obstacles, seeing what else are you capable of? What else can you climb? What else can you do?
Right. Yeah. Those are good. I think we came up with those together in the middle. You were taking notes while we were going.
That's how dorky of a hiker I am.
But I was thinking
putting
about
notes in my phone.
Yeah. I was really not struggling with, but I had definitely come up with the thing that I was wrestling with in my mind was, I don't know if you guys saw the picture or the post that I put on Unleashed with my watch, and it tells me altitude and my heart rate and all that kind of stuff. And I was finding out our pace, right? And I'm so about the stats. And I'm looking at my stats probably every half hour or something like that. And like you said, there's stress in some of that, right? And that comparison mode and everything. And I wasn't really basing it off of anybody like else that had gone before us. I was really starting to see that it was about, I guess I'll just leave it. Our screen went blank here. It was really for me about like, are we going to make it down in time? There was this big question in my mind of safety. And that's just the way my mind works. Maybe your mind works like that too. Whenever I start on a hill or some sort of challenge or something like that, I feel an enormous amount of stress, and my safety is the first thing that comes into question. And when I started plan, I remember calling my coach, Kevin, holding all of the fuelings that I was going to eat for like the next 2 days, going, there's no way that I can do this. And I really noticed that my safety was a concern, or at least I thought it was. But what I realized, and on this hike, it was really clear to me, was that sometimes I have to sacrifice a little bit of safety in order to grow, right? There's not a lot of comfort. There's not a lot of growth when you have a lot of comfort. And I'm trying not to say all the cliche things that everybody sees go through Facebook as they're scrolling about stuff, but there was really a question of, do I choose safety or do I choose growth? And I wrote on the post, there was probably the last 2 hours of the hike, I just told myself, I'm not going to look at my stats anymore. I really want to do this hike. I would love to make it to the top. This isn't helping me at this point. And that's the point where you made, where it was like, I'm just going to keep my head down and keep going, and I started thinking, maybe the dark is going to happen. Like, I have a flashlight. I have it on my iPhone. Like, it's only going to be an hour or something. I was starting to make deals with myself. Like, it's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be that bad. And I really had to understand, like, all of the things that you mentioned gave me the ability to keep going because I could trust. And that's what makes the difference. I feel like with when you're worried about your safety, but you still have this goal and you want to grow, what makes up the difference is trust. And you heard from Jeannie, you heard from all of us, you've heard from us over these last, so many weeks that we've been running this call, that there is a group of people that have done this before you. And so I can trust in that program. I can trust in the program. I can trust in the people. If you look on Unleashed, you see there's almost 6,000 people here that have gone on this path in some shape or form. And so there is the ability to trust in this, and not just trust in whatever it is that you're following, but trusting in yourself too. Like, I could stop those times where I was stopping and you were like, I'm going to keep going. I would recover within 2 minutes. Every time I stopped, I would recover within a few minutes. And that has to do with how we've put ourselves through like all kinds of training beforehand. But at the same time, I knew that I could recover. So I was like, well, it's going to feel bad while I'm on it. But if I can recover in 2 minutes, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And we made it to the top. And sure enough, 2 or 3 minutes, and just taking in all of that, it was amazing. It was a 360-degree view of the Tahoe Basin and then the high country behind us and everything. And, you know, we weren't the only 2 people up there, but we were one of the few people sitting up there. And so taking all of that in, I realized, like, you know, that's working in that trust. And that's what Dr. A talks about when he uses the term self-efficacy. Like, if you've done it before, you can trust yourself to do it again. If you've been with other people, or if you're at least watching other people on this journey, you can trust their story, right? And don't get into comparison. We're not talking about that. We're talking about being inspired by them and everything. And so utilize that inspiration that you're feeling. People have gone there before, so you can trust it. And then as you start to do it more often, you're going to look back and have so many wins. You're going to be able to really trust yourself. And that way you can keep going, and you make that goal a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, and you keep doing it, and you keep trusting yourself more and more. And the idea is, at the end, you trust yourself with a lot of stuff. You're able to risk a little bit more, and therefore you're able to grow at a faster pace. There's no real pace with growing. You don't have to have it at a certain pace. It doesn't have to be super fast. But at any rate, like, the more you trust yourself and the more you're able to pick the right things to follow and to listen to and to be inspired by, you're really going to start growing. And that's what we're all about. That's what this is for. And so we want this to inspire you guys, that it's not just about, hey, look at our trip that we took and all these things. There's so many lessons in it. And we got there by starting here. This has been a season for us of the last 7 or 8 years, right? Some might argue maybe 40 years, 40 years I've been on this path, right? But I've chosen to face it more at 7 years, right? 7 years ago. So these are different things that you can think about, and really trust this plan, and all the things that that we're, trying to help you out with and stuff. There is safety here. You have to risk a little, but the growth or the vision that you get at the top of the mountain, it's worth it.
Yeah, something that's always helped too, because I think many of you might be just starting your journey, right? You're just starting your climb. I think sometimes we get stunted in that, where we're just looking up at the top and we're like, oh my gosh, that looks so far away. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to make it to the top? And so you're just seeing all the obstacles from down below. And something that's always helped me is just, like, instead picture yourself already up at that mountaintop. Like, go into that future self, that future vision, picture yourself up at the top, looking down of, again, that trail of, oh wow, yeah, those were some really tough obstacles. I can't believe I navigated that and made it up to the top. Sit there and picture yourself, like, feeling the wind in your hair, seeing, like, picturing the view of how amazing it's going to be and how worth it will be to make that climb then. And it helps you embrace the steps to get started, especially when you can break it into some of those landmarks and milestones along the way. Sorry for the interruptions.
Yeah. We got kids.
It's hopefully our last time doing this from our son's bedroom.
Yeah, our office is done. So tune in next week. You can see a whole new backdrop and no interaction disruptions.
Yeah, and sometimes you're also going to have those experiences where you're thinking, like, the times that I was up there, I was thinking of all the days that I've been riding my stationary bike, and it feels like you're going nowhere, right? Because you truly are just sitting in your living room riding. But then it was helping me remember, like, oh yes, that I do this every day so that I can have these types of experiences, so I can make these types of climbs. So even when Jeannie's talking about, like, having those feelings and having that water, it's like it's in preparation, some of those daily commitments to be consistent, so you can have those Blarney Stone experiences, right? And that helps you to embrace, again, the daily. Sometimes it feels monotonous, sometimes it feels tedious, but you know that it's serving a bigger purpose, a bigger calling. So thanks, you guys, for tuning in today. I hope this served. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if there was something in particular that just, like, spoke to you or resonated. I love hearing feedback like that of how is this serving you in your journey? How are you embracing? Who are you going to be inviting in to climb together? Because it makes it a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more enjoyable. And then equal parts get to win up at the top, instead of you maybe hitting that first obstacle and feeling like you need to turn around. So awesome, you guys. We'll see you back next Monday.